All right, y'all. So in honor of Black History Month, we are celebrating some of the things that Black people invented that changed our lives for the better. There's a lot of inventions and everyday things that we use that a lot of people don't realize that it was actually a Black person behind the invention. So we start with Richard Spikes, who he actually was the first person to invent the automatic gear shift in 1932.
Really?
Yes, sir. Long time ago. George Speck, who actually invented the potato chip. That is not one that I knew.
What?
That's an important one right there.
Yeah, if you can't get enough potato chips, this man did it by accident when he was a chef in the mid-1850s, and it became one of the more popular food items ever since then. So he actually invented the potato chip by accident.
So he's the reason I can't fit into my jeans anymore.
Yes, sir. That's who you got to thank for that. Dr. Shirley Jackson, who is a big one, was one of the first two African-American women to earn a doctorate in the United States, and she's had quite a few groundbreaking research, telecommunication type inventions. One of them being the touch-tone telephone, the fiber optic cables, the caller ID, and call waiting. So thank you, Dr. Shirley, for giving us the ability to know who's calling so that we can duck them when we need to. Right. That was a big deal.
May I contribute?
Yes, please.
I saw this one, and I think this is an incredible invention for all women. So Mary Beatrice Davidson Kenner, she actually has the most patents of any African-American woman. She invented the maxi pad.
Ooh.
So she came up with the sanitary belt, which later turned into a menstrual pad. But because of her, it revolutionized how women were able to handle their periods. So God bless you.
Shout out to Otis Boykin, who he was an electrical engineer in 1964 and had quite a few influential inventions. One being the most influential one is the pacemaker, which obviously helps you regulate your heartbeat. So that's quite a big one.
Saved lives.
Absolutely. Joseph A. Smith was the person who invented the lawn sprinkler in 1897. So you got him to thank for your garden looking as well as it does. One of my favorites is a guy named Nathan Nearest Green, who he was known as the guy who developed the art of whiskey distillation. And we all know the name Jack Daniels. And he is the guy who allegedly taught Jack Daniels everything that he knew, and Jack Daniels allegedly stole his recipe. And everybody knows Jack Daniels, but not everybody knows Uncle Nearest. So because of this, a lot of Black people to this day will only buy Uncle Nearest instead of Jack Daniels. But basically, he made alcohol easier to consume, took away a lot of that bitterness and made it more of a smooth taste. He was the first person to do it in 1820.
Somebody just gave me a bottle of that and told me that story. Now, I don't know if...
Uncle Nearest?
Huh. Now, I don't know if he stole the recipe or back then he wasn't being taken seriously because he was a Black man.
Right.
And this was his friend is like, you know what, we can make money together, but nobody's going to take you seriously because you're Black. So I'll do it, but never quite gave the credit to the dude you're talking about.
That's exactly the point. So that's why they say he allegedly stole it, because he didn't give him the credit once Jack Daniels became, close to what it is today. Right. Mary Van Britten Brown. This was another one I did not know. In 1966, she actually developed the first known home security system, where you can actually protect your home, and you can do it remotely. Even at that time, you can unlock your doors and all of the things that you do today to keep your home safe. She was the first person to do that. Alan Emtage, another one I did not know, invented the very first search engine. He created Archie in 1989, which was the first time you can go online and actually search for things.
Wow.
Alexander Miles, that's a popular one. Now, this guy was the first person to make elevators safe to ride. Back at a time when you had to manually control the doors for the elevators, he came up with the invention to where elevators would open and close automatically, because at that time, there were a lot of people that were actually dying because of elevators because they were so unsafe to ride. So he came up with the idea that you could ride an elevator without actually having to manually control it.
Some still haven't perfected that. I've got my share of contusions on the shoulder when those doors close too fast.
If you've ever had an epic water gun battle, you have Lonnie Johnson to thank for that. He was the guy who actually came up with the toy giant that has now become Super Soaker in 1989. It was his idea to come up with that. And Sarah Good was the first African-American woman to receive a patent by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. And she is credited with the Murphy bed. And after the Civil War, she wanted her husband to have a place where he can actually lay his head, and she came up with the Murphy bed, and then he took that and turned it into an entire furniture store. So not only did she invent something just for her husband, she actually made up a whole company family. And Charles Drew, he was responsible for the very first blood bank. He's called the father of the blood bank, and that was after the World War II, and he was born in 1904.
Had no idea on any of that.
A lot of them.
Do you say Happy Black History Month?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Happy Black History Month.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
The Bert Show.